We're in the breakout room for C4C, GTPBL. I like that. We could probably turn it into something more exciting, but Cardano for climate, Gimbal token, problem-based learning, way easier to do the acronym. And George and Newman, if you would do me a huge favor and just explain what you know of this experiment to Afia. I'm curious to know your perspective on this rather than me explaining. Is that good, Afia?
Yeah, I'll be very grateful.
So
George, you want to
let George and Newman explain how they see this while I get links.
Sure enough. Go ahead, George. I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, let me see. Let me try. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I've been in this GTPBL for last 2 weeks, I would say, and primarily listening in. And again, the experiment is Gimbal has given a set of tokens and for the Cardano for climate project. And they want to take these gimbals as a team and say what can be done as a project-based learning and how can we use the gimbals provided to us as a resource and share, or how do we want to distribute or make transactions over a period of the project and see how we can use the gimbals as a way of using within the project. So still multiple options have been proposed from project-based tasks to just having a resource of tokens available like from community offering, and use that as a resource and play with it as a team and see what is the direction we can take these gimbals. So those are still early points I took from the last 2 weeks. Still, this is a team effort that has gone for like 10 weeks. So just a part of that is what I can, that's where I am. Still, I'm trying to figure out what is the right way to align to it, but that's where I am.
Yep, I think that's a pretty good explanation. Afia, I would, at the risk of confusing, the C4C is just one of several different Cardano and Catalyst community groups that the Gimbal Labs is seeding, giving these tokens for their experiment. So that's one point. And then the other one is that there's a core team that are working directly with Gimbal Labs, and we are the sort of C4C work group that is working with that core team. So there's two different sort of, there's a system that's working with Gimbal. There's a group of people working with Gimbal Labs, and then we are working with that group as they go through this problem-based learning program. I think that's sort of one of the points. Oh, and we are collaborating with our collaboration platform is the Miro board, and it's just titled C4C GTPBL A0 experiment, and we can share the link with you, and that's sort of our main sort of collaborative platform document. Yep.
Well done, grasshoppers.
Okay.
Afia, do you have questions? Where are the gaps?
There is with on the cooking thing. So what are you going to, how is it going to be used? You are going to sell it, how is it going to be used?
We don't know, and this is what we're exploring. The cool thing is that Mercy from WADA was one of the original cohorts of this
Yeah.
problem-based learning. Afia, maybe you as well. Our lives get busy and we can't commit to this. And I think we started off with 40 members in this original group and ended up with about 22 that have been sent some gimbals. Personally, I've been sent some gimbals and it's like, wow, bonus. I was just coming in to learn more about tokenomics, hang out with James at Gimbal Labs. That's all that really matters to me. And I get bonus gimbals on top of it. And what they turn into, we don't know. What they become, we don't know. This is the experiment and the cool part of it. So we're given the ability to rewrite the rules and also to explore what's important to us as a community. So it came up in our let's call it the core team PBL, you know, with the Gimbal Labs. Like, what are we doing with this? And it's interesting because we've split up into these different groups and everybody has their own agenda. Everybody has their own way of moving through this. And so we're experimenting and seeing what happens.
Yeah, because actually I've not been able to explore the Gimbal Labs myself. Mercy mentioned it sometime back in one of the WADA meetings. And I have not been able to explore. I didn't have time to explore it myself.
And this is okay,
some...
because the intention of the course that we went through was an experiment in itself. And what James is doing is taking this raw data and turning it into a course. Maybe this is a good time to share this screen a little bit about Gimbal Labs.
Yeah, let's see.
And as you can see, what we learned yesterday was that James has been working on tokenomics last year, and they took a turn in the group and worked on some other stuff. And now he's going back to really digging into what tokenomics can do for a community.
Yeah.
And so he's creating courses. Now, somewhere in all these, he has these mini courses, and they're going to be available for people to go through. WADA is going to be able to have this. It'll be a lot less of the time we spent. The gaps will be taken out, and it'll be a lot more succinct. So this is a project. One of the groups is working on this course to deliver an idea of what tokenomics can do for a community. And then on top of that, we have these little groups like Bridge Builder, Cardano After Dark. There's a group specifically on tokenomics, Cardano for Climate. We're taking a chunk of a gimbals and we're working on that. So you're welcome to pop in anytime. What I will do.
Yeah, it looks very interesting. I think I have to make some time and go there and see. I don't know, where do I start from?
So just as you have time, pop by and ask questions. Okay. That would be the easiest, less stressful thing. We're going to give some links in the chat. You're welcome to stay. And if you feel it's too much, don't worry about it. So this one, so you can see this is the Gimbal Labs main menu. When you go into one of these, I can't remember which one it is. Somewhere around here, you'll end up on this page. And this might actually be a closed page yet. I'm not sure. It might not be public yet because we're actually working on these. And these are the different groups that have received gimbals now in different proportions based on a vote from the people that are here. And so each one of these groups will have goals, what they're doing. We, as voters, we were able to suggest goals for the group. and the group can decide whether or not they want to go with those or not. So this is what's happened, and this is a good catch up for George and Newman. This happened this week. And as you can see, Catalyst proposal facilitation is led by TiVo, cross-pollinators. Session is doing a jukebox group. Project-based learning is James. Little Fish Foundation has Nori and Yoram in that, as well as in the Cardano for Climate. So we're all kind of taking a chunk and experimenting. WADA is not being left out. It'll be a lot smoother when it gets to you. Because the other thing is I wish I had that information here. Gimbals, there's been a founder's allocation given out. This AO that we're talking about, the one that's part of our list or our name, is this first allocation of gimbals. And we're the group that's helping determine how the next gimbals get allocated. So as you can see, this A0, it's becoming much more decentralized. It started with the founders, and now we have a bigger group, and the next one will be a bigger group too. So the gimbals are there. And
one more question on this gimbal itself, Melanie. Like, what is a gimbal? Like, what is a gimbal? Is it like ADA? Is it like, what is a gimbal?
exactly. What is the value of it? Can we turn it into fiat? Does it become something like that? This is something we don't know yet.
Well, I think maybe, sorry to interrupt, but I think that maybe, George, let me ask, I mean, because I think maybe what you're asking is like, what is it exactly as far as, I think it's a native token on the ADA Cardano blockchain. So it's just, my follow-up question is, which wallets can you trade it on? How did you receive it, Melanie?
I got it in my Uroi, I believe. So there, it's the typical Cardano wallets that you'll get it in. The thing is, if we transact with gimbals between wallet to wallet, there will be an ADA fee to it. So this is something that we have to consider. I have these gimbals and I could give you 10, Newman, but it's going to cost me, close to an ADA to send. So it becomes not so free for somebody, right? So that's where we with the gimbals to begin with, whatever we're doing is going to be off chain. And then when we start transferring gimbals, the real McCoy, whatever they are, go ahead.
One question, and thanks, George, for kicking this off. And feel free to interrupt me, or if we get a little away from your question, because this might be getting away. And we've talked about, and George, I'm sure you've heard us talk about that, this sort of roadblock of bundle that transacting gimbals incurs a fee in ADA, because we're dealing with the on-chain event. Is there a tool, or is there a group working on a tool that packages and does bundled transactions, basically? Because I would be interested in that.
James, I wish he was here, because he would have this conversation in the bag. What he did with the allocation for us, the original cohorts, he did a bundle transaction and it cost 3 ADA. So this is a system that's there, and that's the beauty of Cardano, is this packaging and the bundling of tokens. So yeah, I wish I was more technical on that end of stuff to explain that to you.
Well, I'm sure that they're working on a tool, and it's just basically that would be the tool. I mean, these are the tools that we would kind of need to know. So there will be a technical aspect of it. Yeah.
So that being said, great place to put a question, questions to consider. And then hopefully we'll get those answers. Put those down here. I'm going to leave it to the community to write those down. Now, if I share this link, I believe.
Yeah, please share it so that I can. I have to hop up and head for the house so I can join town hall.
So what I'm going, yes, you better go to town hall. I'm also going to, just a second here. I'm going to share the link to the Telegram group.
Yeah. Okay, share those things for me to be able to.
And then you can.
Up.
Yes, let's do that. These are it, and then you go and do what you got to do. And if anybody else here needs to go to town hall,
that starts in about 30 minutes.
About 35 minutes.
Yeah, but I have to move. I'm in the office now, and I have to move to the house. And
yes, yes. Afia, well, thank you so much for coming.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see you in the breakout room.
Bye now.
Okay.
And we're going to do this. We'll do this weekly, Afia. So next week, same thing. And then join the Telegram. We might have another weekly meeting. We'll see. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Ciao.
Bye.
Okay.
On the native token itself, Melanie, like when you say gimbals were created by Gimbal Labs, like what is their, how do they create it? Meaning, what was their process, or what is the team that does it? Or the Gimbal Lab, does it have other tokens, and Gimbal is their primary token?
So guess what I'm going to tell you to do, George? Put your question down here. Let's put that down there, because I know I don't have that answer. We went through this experiment though at the very beginning, where James allowed us to work on the test net. So I knew that I couldn't break the blockchain by doing this. And I was able to create a heartbeat token. And what I did was I pegged it to a gimbal. So this is what kind of blew my mind, is like, well, we could actually create our own token pegged to a gimbal. My concern right now is that we have all these different groups, and I hear these numbers being thrown around, like 10,000 gimbals for an hour with James, 50,000 for an hour with Bridge Builder. And if we go, okay, so Cardano for Climate comes along and we're going to go, okay, uploading a YouTube video, this task is worth 3 gimbals. Something's not going to work with the bigger ecosystem. So what I'm thinking is, we have this pool, we have this pot of gimbals. We can actually work on our own virtual token off chain. And when it settles in and somebody needs gimbals for the bigger ecosystem, there's an option to take whatever token we have and trade it. It's kind of like what Newman had mentioned last week about the fruit stand. Somebody needs to spend an hour with James or Bridge Builders, they need some gimbals. They're going to trade something that they've done within the community for that. And they're going to decide, you know, the value of that. I don't want to be in control of that. So.
Yeah, it will be good to see what the other, how are the other teams doing it, or how are the, is it, for example, Little Fish, Sam's team, are they treating it differently? So again, it's an experiment, and multiple projects are trying to evaluate what is the right way to utilize the gimbal. And
it's a bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is easy when when I look at it, like product development, it's like everything is task and tack. You do a task, you're paid. It's like cash flowing in and out. But your thought process is different than theirs, and C4C as a project has some things that are ongoing. And so does it go task based? Does it go community based? does it, so yeah, it's Andrea was saying, okay, can I put a list of to-do list? Like, so, yeah.
We could
it
do
is,
both and though, right? We can do it all. So as long as, if we stay within our group, we're not going to make mistakes. If we do, it's going to be something that we can iterate on. And it's like, okay, that didn't work. It's not a mistake. That didn't work. How will we make it better? That's the exciting bit. And if you felt comfortable, like Little Fish, I don't know if you're part of that group, but maybe you'd want to join that group and the experiment and see what they're doing and bring that here. I'm going to focus solely on our group and what gets generated from here. I'm part of TiVo's group, so I'll get a little idea of what they're doing. For myself, it would be much too overwhelming to try and connect everything else that's going on, the way other people see stuff. Like you said, your project management based, and this is the glasses that you see things through. And I see them through as a farmer and abundance and growing tomato seeds, you know, this kind of
yeah, as a farming tool, like when we look from farming perspective, we have the seed, we have to plant it, and we have to move forward. So we get the harvest at the end, or we have just the seed. So Gimbal is like a seed. We got to plant it. So what are we going to plant? Who is going to till the land? Who is going to fertilize? Who is going to protect?
how are we going to grow it? Yes. Right.
So it is a A0, and it can become A1 at 10x. It can become 100x based on what we are doing and how the Gimbal team sees a value of what we are doing. And do we want to reach more teams? Because C4C is a broader, it is a one umbrella. And again, we have Little Fish, we have the ocean cleanup, different teams coming together, and algae token. Algae is another token, so it's a litter is another token. So we have a lot of variables, and do we make a framework which connects these from C4C perspective? So we are a seed which broadens our reach to other tokens, and say, okay, each project can have a certain participation within the C4C umbrella, and C4C by itself as a core governance as a certain umbrella for community enablement. And it is a broader community. C4C is not a single project. So yeah, it's like a lot of thoughts in that, but we have to take the seed and move it forward. I'm like, okay, we have the seed, what do we do?
So this is interesting, because if you think about as a farmer, okay, I grow peas. If I eat all my peas, I have no seeds for it's consumption, right? I have no seeds to grow the harvest next year. But see, if I think, well, I have to use these all up, I don't save any, I don't grow anymore because I'm hungry, or this is all I need. So this is a different mentality than often what happens in business. I need a $10,000 loan. I'm going to get it all. I'm going to use it all up. And then I'm going to go back and get another loan. I'm going to go buy some more seeds. I'm going to keep buying them. I'm not saving those. It's not a regenerative model. It's also this second time now, James, when I mentioned, I said, you know, maybe a gimbal is the same as a tomato seed. And he goes, there we are. That's what a gimbal's worth, one tomato seed. So that's the idea. We don't have this predefined idea of what a gimbal is worth.
Yeah, even if we say, for example, it's a tomato seed or a pea plant, and we want to say, okay, we set up what 10% as a future treasury, and or do we save 50%, or we say weekly, we say 5% of it is what we are going to experiment for this week. So right now it is like we have this and we are not sure what to do, and we are still in the same state. Or do we want to hold this state, or do we say, okay, for this week we should take out 5% off and say what do we want to do? Because we are at a point where we are no decision kind of state we are in.
We're not doing
Until we
anything.
take we
Yes.
have to take that first experimental step, and it is a risk, and we have to go for that experiment, saying
Mhm.
for my first 5%, what do I want to do for this week? And if you say 5%, we are splitting it over 20 weeks, which is is that a period you are looking at, or are we looking at more at
We don't know.
10-week period?
We don't have a week yet. And that's the other thing is like, there's this, we're coming together. I think you mentioned that in project management. It's what is it? The storming, the norming, the forming, all these different things. And right now we're kind of like all over the place, a bit of chaos, and we're going to start connecting these little dots. I'm hoping we do that within a week, that we have some sort of an idea of what we are as a group. When we have new people come in, there's kind of a shift again. So do we, at some point, do we say, okay, we're a group, we're gelling, you know, we're a clique, nobody else? You know, there's this part of it too. How open do we go, right?
Yeah, that is
And-
what we, from a new team member standpoint, when we look at it, this is a core team, and we are the new team members. And the core team, for example, now should say, okay, this is my first step I am taking. So the core team, when they decide, the other teams can say, okay, either we align to it, or we say we don't, and we step out, or we say, okay, let's modify. So it's like, so the core team from that standpoint is what maybe we are looking for some direction, saying, okay, what is the core team?
So look at it like this. This is the Gimbal token, the first group. And then this is the first group. And now we're turning into new groups. So Nori, Yoram, myself is one of these groups. We're the beginning, we're the go-between the first one and you guys. Now we're you, me, Newman, we're this group. And we get to decide. We're the new core group that decides for Cardano for climate. Nori, myself, and Yoram were kind of the go-between Gimbal. But whoever shows up in the next week or two, we are the core group of Cardano for climate. This next group, and then we create something, and maybe that splits off into something else as well. And then it becomes another core group. It could be that the three of us go, Newman and I want to work on the fruit stand idea. So here's our core group, right? And we've just split off into this other core group. You want to take a much more project-based, project management, task-oriented group. We're inside Cardano for climate. We're under this umbrella, and we can experiment with that. And then we can, because we're such a small group, we can work together and go, hey, this is working really good. Let's not reinvent the whole wheel. Let's figure out how we can figure out the calculations off chain, right? Some sort of form, Excel, Miro board, whatever tool we use, we can use together so that we can do this. Am I making any kind of sense?
Yeah, it is the part I was expecting, maybe as I look at the core team was a little more.
You'd expect more direction. It's very unusual. I just have to communicate with Gonzalo's that we are in C4C GT, because I see, guys, because I saw him on the Miro board. We are in C4C GT. You know what? I'm going to just buzz over into the main room for 2 seconds. Okay, hang on. I know what I can do. I can assign him. I have the power. Blah. I just took him through cyberspace here.
Nice.
I hope that works. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Let's see if he shows up or not, or if he gets us. There we go. So you know what? 6 months ago, I had no idea how to do this. You know, even a year ago, 6 years ago, we couldn't do this. So Gonzalo, thank you for showing up. I saw you on the Miro board, and I thought I'm going to suck you through cyberspace here, and take you into this room.
Hello,
So,
everyone. Thank you.
so Gonzalo, are you part of the original Gimbal Labs experiment or did you come? When did you join in?
So I joined later. That's why I think James said, okay, let's wait for the next interaction. But I'm helping Juan also on the distribution of the gimbals, as well as trying to help with the economics behind the gimbals, right? My background is in economics. I develop loyalty programs. So I hold a master's in economics, and I applied a lot of economic theory behind issuing points, and actually I work a lot with frequent flyer miles. So that is the biggest currency in the world. So the thing is, we are part here of UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, what is called an incubator for a startup. So I'm here in San Francisco, and I got involved with the Cardano after researching and reading about many things. And then I start getting more involved with all the meetings and talking to James, talking also to Simon, I think was there, with many people. So I'm trying to see how can I help. I also have a project. I remember, Melanie, I think you saw it. The project is really simple. We are trying to create a reward program that is traceable, that issue points that can only be used on sustainable projects. So we are integrating this with another company here in San Francisco called Patch.io that has really a lot of other sustainable projects. So that's what we are trying to do. I'm trying to learn from you, Melanie, and from the rest of the.
So we were just talking about this, so weren't we, about figuring out this platform, George, right? How do we navigate this? And here comes Gonzalo. So do you feel inclined to share a little bit about this platform? I need to buzz away for about 2 minutes to heat up a cup of tea. We also have town hall starting in 15 minutes. I am happy to stay as long as anybody else wants to stay. But I think you have the ability to share a screen. If you want to just explain a little bit more about what you're doing there, this may be very helpful and timely.
Sure, more than happy. Tell me, Newman.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Gon. I was looking forward. I'm glad to see you here, simply because there's been so much research and history with local currencies. You know, for instance, I've been telling people about that incredible stat about the airlines making more money off of their miles than they do off flying. And it's an amazing part of the next economy. And I think that you and your research are keyed into it. So we really want to make a nice, happy place for you to be able to share and spread your ideas. Yeah, look for the win-win.
Sure. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you saw my presentation, my previous presentation when I was at Gimbal Labs. So more than happy to share that. So this can open a lot of ideas, I believe. But if you think about it, everything that we are doing, all this blockchain thing falls into currencies. It's really interesting, right? All these different currencies created and tokens, right? But the reason why I was attracted to the blockchain was because this is a specific currency that can be traced. You know exactly, how much data you can put on a specific currency given to someone, and when that currency was spent, where it was spent. So never happened in the history, right? That you can really trace, unless you are a credit card and you know exactly how many is you know, the spending on your dollars, right? So again, I think I can share screen. I don't know if should we wait for Melanie, but
Oh, you should be able to share.
okay.
I'm here. My place is so small I can hear and see everything.
So again, I don't know, and I'm gonna be sharing what I did with at the Gimbal Labs presentation, right? But again, you can stop me if there is something that you believe you don't understand. I'm not sure about your backgrounds, so
Let's
more than happy. Yeah.
do that really quick, you know, so that you have a connection. Newman, you know well enough? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty quick on the pickup.
Tell me more, like Newman, for myself. Just tell me who you are and why you're here, real quick.
Let's see. I hold a master's degree in from the Education Department, Instructional Technology, in a design sort of capacity, instructional systems design, where we do organizational learning and change management. I've been interested in currency since I realized that money is what moves everything around me. So, which was from a famous pop music, and yeah, and so, but I don't have a credential in economics, but I have participated in economics since my grandmother got me a bank account when I was 5.
George, your turn.
Yeah, I hold a master's in engineering, so I have 25 years experience in product development, and collect electronics and embedded electronics, and with a lot more focus on software development, safety related. And last few years, I've been volunteering with IEEE Smart Village for programs which are education, entrepreneurship, and energy for off-grid communities using solar technologies. And in that process, I started doing grant writing. So which was a compliment, meaning I was purely on the technical side, and this opened up a totally different finance side and allowed me to see a totally different light of what is happening around us. And the questions of a winner takes all model in our economy, where everything goes to the top few, and Bill Gates donates 95% and still is at 100 billion. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So it moved me in that direction, saying, okay, what is crypto journey, and understanding what is blockchain, and how does this economy, which is controlled primarily 97% by banks and institutions, and how does this new institution come in? And I've been on this probably for last 9 months, and starting with the Gitcoin, Ethereum community, and last 2 to 3 months in the Cardano community, which have been a lot more open, and I've been able to voice myself in those communities. I was just a listener. So it is a different community, and environment is more open to people voicing their opinions from different backgrounds, even from early mindset of not understanding what it is. So that is very welcoming and open. The Cardano community has showed, and Melanie had been my primary coordinator so far. So I've been with
it segues beautifully into who I am, because you guys have 3 masters. And what is that saying? Master of everything, master of nothing. You know, this has been my life. I've been a master mother, you know, for 27 years. That's my biggest and most rewarding profession, most rewarding degree that I've gotten. And a farmer, a connector. This has been really cool in Catalyst. I'm a little bit older too, right? 60s. and female, very oddball in this whole situation, but I've always felt, almost always felt welcome. And this whole idea of being able to iterate, make mistakes, move forward, find out our highest potential, this is what blows me away in this system, because I grew up where perfection was what was required. There's black and white. You make a mistake, you're an idiot. You know, this is the things that I have to which is stupid, right? It's so hard to believe, but this is the system that I've come out of. And now I come into this one and it's like, oh my goodness, I can think differently. I can thrive. It's like I'm also a farmer. I love gardening, planting, watching bugs, seeing how they interact, ecosystems. I love natural building, taking my shoes off as soon as I can in the early spring and feeling the temperature of the ground and where it's wet and where it's cold and warm from the sun. So, you know, definitely an oddball in a way, but we're all odd in our own sense. And that's what makes it so beautiful, because we work together so well.
We are all unique.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. This whole opportunity to come together like this has never, ever happened before in history that I know of. And that's what gives me hope for the future. We have the crap to clean up. We've got the legacy systems that have failed us terribly, but we also have this, what I think about, what I've said for a long time is, I'll be perfect tomorrow. And we know that tomorrow will never come. Well, tomorrow never comes because it's always today, but we always strive for perfection. And this is what I feel like our system is when we collaborate, when we work together from all these walks of life. This to me is what perfection is. So I have arrived. Gonzalo, go ahead and do this. I'm so glad you're here. Go ahead and. So you presented this at Gimbal Labs? Because I wasn't there, so I'm glad you're doing it here. And you're on mute. And you're on a Mac. So if you want to get it big, you just have to press slideshow. You know that, right?
Oh, I feel bad. We only have just a few minutes before the town hall.
And you pop off anytime. So what we can
There you
do,
go.
we'll
Sorry.
keep recording.
No, yep. And I can do this in 5 minutes, and then whenever you have questions, you can always ask me. We can always regroup again. No, I know that I can present here, I know, but my computer was slow and it didn't allow me to.
Were you
it's
uploading
my
the
small one?
Were you uploading the blockchain on your dataless wallet like I was today?
No, but let me give you some background. I was totally skeptical about blockchain and the currency. You know how much cryptocurrency I own? Zero. So I'm on the other side. I'm on the dark side, let's say, because I didn't believe on this cryptocurrency, all this, craziness about buying and, going up in value and all that. So I have my own way of thinking about this, but that doesn't stop me to looking at the technology and how these currencies were developed and the capability. So anyway, I'm going to be fast, okay? We call it Floras. Floras is a reward currency to support sustainable project. And this is going to be under many companies that we call it Coalition Green. It's an umbrella of companies that are willing to participate on this program where they issue points that can only be used on sustainable projects. So this is what I call the biggest currency in the world, and this is my background. United airlines, they issue, there are around 14 trillion outstanding miles in the world. It's the biggest currency in the world. And every year, 500 billion miles are issued, right? So, and this is an agreement that we have with United. United, they sell us miles at 2.5 cents each, right? And this is my credit card that I got when I came here at Berkeley in 96, when I came to study to Berkeley at 96. I got my credit card that is a Visa United. Every time that I use that card, issue miles. So always try to think about the tokens and how we're going to distribute the Gimbals and all that, right? So it's similar, right? So every time that I go to the supermarket, I spend $10 in milk, I earn 10 miles, right? So the reality is what is happening behind the scenes. In this case, Chase or Visa needs to go and buy those miles from United. United is the issuer of that mile. So they write a check of 2.5 cents each on those 10 miles to then give those miles to me. Now think about that. This happens on millions of transactions, right? So the funny thing is when I receive those miles, think about tokens, the value of those tokens is less than 1 cent when I want to redeem them, when I want to use them. So United made around 2.5 from 2.5 cents that they sold it to and a redemption of 1 cent, they make around 1 cent and 1 cent and a half every time that a mile is issued and then redeemed. Because of this is how much money United made last year and the rest of the airlines. United made $3 billion selling their currency to partners. Okay, Delta 2.7, American 2.1, and then you can go on. And they didn't fly that much because of the pandemic, right? So even if they were flying around 15% capacity, but they still were making a ton of money with their currency. Okay, and because of this, these are the evaluations of the loyalty programs, not the airlines, the loyalty program. So if you think about Delta SkyMiles, it's worth $21 billion. Only the loyalty program. And I always put this example. There is an airline in Brazil called Gol, that is a big airline, but their frequent flight program is worth more than the airline. So it's interesting. So then I started reading about the carbon offsets, and I know some of you in your Cardano for Climate, they don't like the offsetting. They want to reduce the carbon offset, but that's not something that us as a company, we can control. We can incentivize it, but so we start looking at the different projects that offset the carbon issuing. So we start looking at how big is the market, how is a lot of money has been put in all these projects. So that's why we came up with what is called Floras. Floras is what we call it's a reward currency issued by all these companies that can only be spent on sustainable projects. And we already are partnering with 2 companies here in San Francisco. One is called Patch, the other one is called Pachama. Pachama is more on forestation, right? In the rest of the world, not only in South America, but all around the world. So Pachama just received $25 million to execute their projects. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create this currency that can be earned by buying different products from all these companies, but can only be spent on supporting sustainable projects, right? So these are the projects. You can go to Pachama, you can see all of them. And the idea behind this is really to send funds to those projects. Instead of you earning frequent flyer miles and go and buy something for you, you send them to fund those projects, right? And we have 2 different tools, and I can explain this in another time, but we have an app and also we have a marketplace that is where you can see all the different places where you can earn the Floras or spend the Floras. And then the app is more like a wallet where you can account for the Floras, right? So this is exactly the same thing as the airlines. is not something that is new. But since we are coming from the industry and we have the tools already, this is just a question of changing the name of the currency, right? And opening the different redemption channels, meaning if you are an airline and you issue frequent flyer miles, you can only spend them on flights, let's say, right? So that's it. I know that we need to jump to the other meeting, but
town
more than
hall
happy to
time.
explain more. Yeah,
Yeah.
more than happy to explain more whenever you guys want, and going through the economics behind it.
So questions, quick questions, George Newman.
Yeah, previously we were talking about Cardano for climate having a community token. This kind of is a very similar format, and if this is something that can be cross-coupled to what we were aligning to, would be is one thought on that.
Yep.
My comment was because I had not been introduced to this idea of a coin that can only be spent in a certain channel, but it makes perfect sense with the way the loyalty programs work. But immediately reminded me of Sean of Open
And
Litter
litter
Map.
coin. Yep.
So I definitely think that is the way to drive impact, and then you just immediately we just build a better system. So I'm stoked. That's really, really great. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you more, Gon.
Sure.
So in the
definitely.
meantime, this 1 week that we have, from now to maybe next Wednesday, whether we meet as a group again, Miro board, there is that one place to ask questions, ask and answer questions on that main page with all the directory. If you've got links or if you are starting another project, put it in the directory, your name and a link to the board. And then we'll start combining this. We can all work on our own stuff, but when we come together, let's connect and figure out what's going on. We need to figure out what we want to do as Cardano for climate. We aren't in the position to buy any products from each other, but what is our goal? Our mission is to make the world work better for all people, planet, and animals. What do we want to incentivize within the Cardano for climate community? So think about those questions and then jump into town hall, whatever. I think we should probably close up this meeting and allow this to settle in, but think about those questions. Because
this week is a Easter week, so it may go pretty quick here for most of us. And then probably the coming week, we can reconvene fresh
good
eyes.
call. Yeah, good call. So let's think about, this is the core. Why are we doing this? Let's figure that one out as a community from many voices and many perspectives. And then the how we can figure out together.
The why and the how. I like it.
Okay,
Sounds
simple.
good.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks
thank
you
you.
guys
Good
so
to meet
much
you
for
guys.
being here. This is
Yeah.
awesome. All right, ciao.